For most people, financial planning isn't just about spreadsheets and market returns. It's about taking care of the people that you love, right? Making sure that those that are close to you are taken care of should something happen. So today we're going to talk about what it looks like to provide that financial protection in many different areas of the planning process. We'll do that with Ryan coming up next. Welcome into Perfect Game Retirement. Ben George with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. And I know, Ryan, people think, okay, advisors, we're going to be doing a lot of planning in terms of investing and checking out returns and just the financial side. But man, so much of what you do is about building relationships with families that want to take care of their loved ones. And that's a big priority for them.
Yeah, I think in the longer I'm in the business, you start to see more and more of these things pop up. So yeah, I mean, everybody wants to talk about, like you said, the investing and rates of return and nest egg dollar amount, what you have, but there's so much more to it. Sometimes this stuff is the boring side of it, but it's sometimes the most important part. These are the things that we're going to talk about today, that when a life event happens or preparing for a life event, we got to make sure that all of our ducks in a row, and us as advisors have to lead people to those things. Sometimes there is some of those things that, like, I'll take care of it, and then we never get back to it.
Yeah, as we go through these today, remember, you can always get in touch with Ryan. Go to speakwithryan.com, book a time to have a chat with him and begin talking about your priorities and some of these things that are most important to you, and how that planning process will look moving forward to help take care of those. And you're probably going to talk about some of these things we discussed here in this video, but these are all items, as you mentioned, Ryan, they might not be the most exciting things to talk about and not something maybe that you always want to be talking about, but these are pivotal conversations to have in order to protect those that are closest to you. So let's start with life insurance, because I think a lot of people have questions about life insurance. Hey, how does it fit in? How long do I need to have it? How do you have that conversation with Ryan? What do we need to know about having life insurance to help protect our families?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a fun topic to talk about. It's a huge piece of the puzzle. We usually don't like to lead with it. I was in the insurance world for a while, and yes, it is a huge, vital part of protecting a family, adding liquidity on a death of a spouse or a loved one in a family. So it is hugely, hugely important, and especially if it's something that happens early in your life, or an unexpected death, and those things happen. We've had clients that's happened to as well. So you want that protection in there. Again, we don't usually lead with it, but it's definitely a key component of the financial planning process. Like how much is needed. And it's kind of funny just being in the industry for so long now. Like, I remember those certain death benefit dollar amounts, like, oh, if you have $1 million, like, oh, wow, that's plenty. But it's sad to say that $1 million goes really, really quick now, especially with housing costs is what they are. College tuition rates, as expensive as those are. So, the million which is great, it's still good, but the million doesn't go quite as far as it used to. So that's where we really need to project those things out and think, okay, maybe you need $1 million or more today, but what does this look like if this happens 15 years from now? It's a very different story. Now, again, we want to make premiums affordable and all that. So it's a balance. You want to make sure that it's something that people can afford, but at the same time, try to get as much as you can that fits comfortably in your budget, because if the worst thing happens, you want to have that as big a check as possible. And because it does cover a lot of those expenses that we take on who are left behind when someone passes away. So it's still a huge part of retirement planning. Are sometimes life insurance policies forced? Are they oversold? Yeah, sometimes they are, because there's so many different structures of life insurance policies, which we're not going to get into in this show. Maybe we will on another episode, but there's so many different kinds. Obviously, term is probably the most well-known because it's the cheapest. You can get the highest death benefit, but it's for a certain term and it goes away. Then you have the whole life, variable, universal, IUL, so many different things to think about. But having a life insurance plan, whether it's not having life insurance, that's still a plan, but we got to talk about it.
Yeah, know what you have and why you have it or why you don't have it, right? And make sure you're having that conversation for sure. I know it's kind of one of the most direct ways to really protect yourself. Now you have beneficiary designations here, Ryan. So I know this seems like a very small detail, very simple detail, but there are a lot of consequences that come with not having these or not keeping them updated.
This is, I can't say how important that beneficiary designations is, because that custodian or that life insurance company, whatever is written on those designated beneficiary forms, that's who gets the money. Whether life happened and maybe there was a death in the family and you didn't change the beneficiary, or you got divorced and you didn't take your ex-spouse off, or whatever the case may be, you don't you don't go back and change those things. That can be very detrimental, and someone may be getting a life insurance proceed, and or an investment account or an IRA account that had not never, but no intention for that person to receive it now. So you want to make sure. So that's estate planning 101 that we can do. We're not attorneys here, but that's estate planning. We can go through and recheck. Hey, every time we meet with someone, hey, beneficiary forms, are they still good? Hey, did we do a trust somewhere? Do we need to change certain things into the trust? Some accounts do go into the trust, and some accounts don't go into the trust because they pass via designated beneficiary. So you want to make sure and button that stuff up, especially with the beneficiary designations, and just make sure. Again, life gets in the way. Time goes by fast, and you're like, oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Now, if you work with an advisor, that should be part of their job, is to update those and ask about those things. But please, please, please go in and make sure all of your accounts, your investment accounts, your life insurance policies, all those things are up to date, please.
Yeah, I can't stress it enough. It's easy to overlook, especially once you've done it, and maybe you've just kind of forget about it. But just have an update, check on it, make sure everything is accurate to the way you want it. That takes us into our estate documents here, Ryan. Again, another thing, a lot of people probably just put off a little while, don't want to think about it, right? Think they have plenty of time. But again, this is, a lot goes into this conversation as well. I know the will is kind of the starting point, but there's a lot more beyond that you need to be thinking about.
Yeah, at least have something. Don't pass intestate, where it's basically you don't have any type of will or anything. Now, again, going back to our previous point, designated beneficiaries, make sure your investment accounts at least have those if you don't have a will. But having a will, a power of attorney, medical directive, financial power of attorney, you need to make sure you have all those things. And I really like to advocate for people to have a trust. Now, you may want to talk to an attorney what type of trust you need. I would say most people, an irrevocable trust usually fits, but obviously there's irrevocable trust that could fit into the picture as well. But a trust just lets those things pass outside of probate even faster. So you have your designated beneficiaries, but then you also have your trust as well. So you kind of want that estate stack, is what I like to call it. So again, we're not attorneys, but we do give our clients an online tool that walks them through creating a trust, creating a medical directive, a financial power of attorney. So to have all those things in one place, and we have a notary here in the office, and we notarize things for our clients as well. So having something is better than nothing, but having that complete estate plan. And it's not, some of the conversations that you may have with your advisor or your attorney, like, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? It's a very morbid conversation a lot of times, but it's things that you potentially need to think about that could happen. Because again, I've been in this business long enough that you don't think it's going to happen, and it potentially could.
Yeah. Yeah. And then beyond that, make sure your family knows where they are too, if you have them in place, and a big part of that. Let's talk longevity planning here, Ryan. I know people are living longer and longer, and again, that can be pretty expensive down the road. And I know it's not just about thinking about worst case scenarios, right? It's just there's a lot it's just changing, and then costs across the board are going up in so many different areas, and so it's something you have to be planning for, because this is where I think a lot of people doing themselves probably fall short.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many people you hear like, oh, I don't want to run out of money too early, but then, like you said, the longevity risk of running out of money if you live too long, which is a real thing. So there's ways to combat that. Obviously, doing a financial plan, and you can change. When we do financial plans for individuals, I ask them, how long do you want to see this money go out to? So we may start at one age and they say, okay, we'll move it back, move it back, move it back. And so sometimes we move it to 100 and sometimes even higher. I did a financial plan for a client who we did it out to 103 because they had two family members that lived beyond 100. So let's plan for that, because it's a real thing now. I have a grandmother who will be 99 this year. So it can happen. So doing a plan for that, what kind of Social Security benefits do we have? What kind of pensions do we potentially have? And if you don't have a pension, then yes, there's annuities out there that guarantee an income for a lifetime. So, those are some things to think about, but running that financial plan first on how long your investments, even if you run worst case scenarios, as far as returns go, and going out an extra long period of time, maybe that will give you the peace of mind to know that you won't outrun your money, if you will, or outlive your money. So having a plan for that to see how long your nest egg could potentially last is important.
As we kind of close this out, these are all planning conversations you have at Black Oak Asset Management. But I think kind of the bigger thing to keep in mind here is a lot of times, when things get hard, people don't just reach for their spreadsheet to get answers, right? It's about having someone in your corner who you can trust. I know you build a lot of relationships there, Ryan. It's important to what you and your team do there at Black Oak, but it's important that you have that advisor because you understand your goals, the family, and how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah, it's crucial, especially during these times where you're grieving and you may not be making sound decisions, and you have that trusted person that you can bounce these ideas off of. And a lot of times I tell our clients not to make any drastic decisions, financial decisions. Let's just, pay the debts or pay the things that we need to pay, and let's park that money and just kind of sit and simmer over it. You may stay in the house, you may not stay in the house, you may, pay it off, you may not pay it off. So there's a lot of decisions to make that sometimes a clear head you may not have when these life events do happen. So having a trusted team, whether it's an estate planning attorney, a CPA, a financial advisor, just having that kind of trusted group of individuals, and maybe those all kind of fit into one place as well. And that's what we try to do, is be as comprehensive as possible. So you're really going to one person to coordinate all these different things. So you definitely want not necessarily just a family member to bounce ideas off. It's okay to talk to family, but having an objective viewpoint on these things who have been through these situations a lot, I think is very important.
Yep. And as that protection changes throughout life, that's what an advisor helps with. But the reason behind it never does, right? It's all about the people and making sure they're taken care of, no matter what comes next. So that's what real financial planning can do for you. And that's what it's built on. So get in touch with Black Oak Asset Management. You can get in touch with Ryan, get on his calendar, have that initial conversation, learn more about what Black Oak can help you with by going to speakwithryan.com. We appreciate you watching this episode of Perfect Game Retirement. Again, a lot to think about, but it's all about protecting your family. And hopefully this gives you some items and some conversations to be having with your advisors. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We'll talk to you again soon.